Exciting times now. This is what it's all about, planting. So I got these seeds from a company called Meadows in my garden, and they very kindly actually donated them because they like the project basically, which is really cool. So for dry soil, I've got three boxes in total, which should be more than enough. I'm not going to do it all today. I'm going to do 2/3 and I'll explain why. Anyway, all I'm doing here is just following the instructions. So it says pour it into a container basically. Reason for that, it does make sense because I'm going to give them a good shake and then it's all mixed and ready. Now we've had quite a lot of rain today, so it should be perfect. Now, what's happened since you last saw it? So the garden, as you know, it was all hardcore, which is really poor quality soil, and it is pretty horrible, a lot of it. I mean, there's so many bits of like plastic and rubbish and stuff like that in it. But we've got rid of a lot of big rocks and a lot of things, and it is broken up. But without taking it out and replacing it with enriched soil, like with manure and stuff, it is what it is. However, that's okay. We can work with that. So what we've done now, if you look at all of this, I've covered it all in grit sand. Now the depth of the grit sand ideally wants to be 50 mil, but it varies depending. These are all different plants, these are all different seeds. So obviously give them a good shake now. And these are all different plants, different seeds, and some will like it deeper, some will like it shallower. So so by having it varied and patchy, it means it'll be a varied meadow, hopefully. Other things will do better. The other thing about the grit sand is it isn't good soil. That's the whole point. But say I did it over soil, and it was good. Say it was good soil. Some plants will do really well in that, and they'll explode. But we might get one. Whereas as this, it creates like a level playing field for everything. So it's not really great for anything, but it means everything grows at the same time. It'll also suppress all the weeds underneath, so it'll kind of slow them down. So I'm hoping this will be just a beautiful meadow. This year will be about establishing, so it'll be about growing. Then next year it should really pop. Now, so I've raked all this today, and as I say, we've had some rain, so it's all now, it's some damp. I'm going to seed most of it. I'm not going to do just here, because if you look, there's actually some ponds coming in now. Now they're not like, it's not a fancy pond, it's basically just a big puddle. So all I've done, dug a hole. I've done them probably about maybe a foot and a half deep, which is quite deep. But then what I've done is filled them with rocks. Now, the reason for that is because these are just nature ponds. If we get frogs in or anything like that, that's brilliant. But what these are, they're water sources. You're never going to get wildlife without having a water source. So just a little dotted around, and the idea is the meadows will grow all around them. And what's really good as well with these is they're perfectly safe. Nothing can fall in there and drown. So say we have the bees coming in there, and the idea long term is with the rocks, and I've left bits of mud on some of them, and you'll get all sorts of moss and stuff growing there. And the ideal drinking location for bees in particular is like something like moss, where they can land on it, they can drink, but there's no chance of them drowning. So that's the idea with these. So I've done one, I've done a fairly big one there, a tiny one there. It's still probably about, I don't know, about so deep. Still probably about a foot and a half deep, but I've put lots of big rocks in it just to. And the other thing about that, which is good, so say things like frogs and things like that, they want to go in and hide under these rocks, and that's what they provide. So they're not finished yet, but you get the idea. And you'll see preparation, where another reason I'm not seeding it all is because I'm going to dig a bigger one up the end. I'm sure there's a better way of doing this, but it's okay. Haphazard suits me well. I'm not going to do there because I want access to that pond, because I'm going to do all the rocks and stuff around there, and I've got some water plants, so I'm just going to do around this. But you know, so all I'm going to do is scatter it about. I mean, I know how much this box should do, 60 square meters, so this should be more than enough. Now the other thing, which is a slight problem, is you could do like a roller. I mean, they'll probably be okay, and I've raked it all, so there's all sorts of like little divots and stuff like that for them to fall into. And like we say, we want it to be varied. We don't want it to be like perfectly flat. But what I'm going to do is well, you'll see in a bit, but I'm going to drag a snow shovel across it. So I'll give you a sneak talk plan. So just on the side here, I've planted the fruit trees now, but it's going to be a long time. I mean, you look at them, they just look like a stick at the moment, but I'm assured they'll grow. Anyway, I've got, for example, I've got 3 cherry trees because I like cherries, and I thought I'd try doing some cooking cherries as well. But the problem is, you know, like many things, I'll grow them and then I'll forget them. I mean, I'm trying to get better on it, but I'm generally a plant it and see what happens kind of grow gardener, which isn't the best way to do because it's quite expensive as well because a lot of stuff dies. So I'm trying to get a bit better. Anyway, what I've done with these, I've used some old slate tiles and I've written on what is there. So for example, this tree here on the left is a pear Williams, so it's very sweet, juicy, rich flavour, yellow fruit. And then the other one, cherry sunburst, black eating cherries. So this is to the right. No, it's this one here. So again, it just looks like a stick at the moment, but that's so that's an eating cherry. But there's another one somewhere. I can't. There's another one, cherry morello. Yeah, cherry morello, which is really good for pies apparently. So you know, I don't want to be picking them, and then them tasting old and me not realising why. So now I'm like, right, okay, that's good. That's the one for cooking. And they're quite, and it's all, I wrote down like how long you can keep them, how long they can last. So it just means that eventually I'm hoping I'll learn them and I'll remember them. But until that happens, then I can do this basically. Every year I'm so amazed that you get so much sunflowers. Just they're so good for what you get from them. They don't ask a lot, and they're just give and give. And what's even better as well, come winter, they provide loads of sunflowers and food for birds. So because this year I just accept that we're not going to get much in the way of fruit trees. I'm hoping maybe next year, but let's say 2-3 years. What I'm going to do along this wall here is I'm going to make a sunflower wall. So I think that's going to look amazing. So imagine a wall of 10-foot tall sunflowers, and that's hopefully the plan, which is going to happen. Right, so I've spread them. Now I was reading the instructions and it says to have like a roller, and I haven't got a roller. So I had the idea, because what it wants to do, you want the seeds to come into contact with the soil. So some of them, most of them are, but some will be floating. So I figure this should work. Now it might not, but by doing this, it makes sure all the seeds are pushed down. And in contact with the soil. And I mean, I don't know how good a roller would be, but I think it's working pretty well. Not bad at all. Now, it's the evening, so I'm not going to water the garden. I hope it's going to rain, but I don't want to water the garden because I don't want it to get, not like, damp is obviously fine, but I don't want it to be, it's more likely to kind of go mouldy and not. You basically, the ideal time to water the garden is first thing in the morning. You don't want to do it in the afternoon because you don't want stuff getting burnt by the sun, and you don't want to do it in the evening because you kind of want, I don't know, the stuff you can get mold and stuff things. So if it doesn't rain tonight, ideally we want a nice dollop of rain first thing tomorrow morning. But if it doesn't, then I'll get up and give this a good water tomorrow, maybe every other day. don't want to do it too much. And the whole point is it's dry soil, you know, so it wants, I think often with things like this, neglect is the key. It doesn't want, you know, I mean, I've laid down grit sand at the end of the day. It's not exactly a good growing medium as a rule. So yeah, this plant probably will thrive with neglect. And I'm not even, regards this area, it might not be a meadow forever, but for now, it's a perfect way of just rewilding it. Straight away, in a very short space of time, I've got the fruit trees growing. We might get a bit of blossom on them this year, but they're in place, so they're kind of like long-term fixtures. I'm going to do them all espalier on the side, but then we've got this meadow, and I really don't know why people insist. Okay, if you're going to play in it or sit on it or something like that, fair dues for having grass. But unless you're going to do that with it, then grow a meadow. I'm going to water it a bit, and then I'm going to forget about it, and then come winter, I'll cut maybe half of it with a strimmer. The only reason that is because, again, it kind of likes tough love. But I'm only going to do half of it. It would do better to do all of it in a way, but you know, it's a wildlife garden, so what I want to do is cut half of it, and then it'll leave all the seeds and things like that which the birds can eat over winter. It's such an easy low maintenance garden to make, whereas, like, you know, there seems to be this idea that you either have a lawn or nothing at all, and then people are having like plastic grass because cutting the grass is too much faff. But well, this will be great. It's just one big garden, and if I did want to keep an area for sitting on, you can always cut little pathways and stuff like that. Right, I mean, it looks pretty cool if nothing else. I like the patterns. Right, I reckon how far did I get? I got to about here, didn't I? So, I've got to try and remember where we actually seeded. Right, I think it was about there. I'm not going to do any more of that. We don't. I want to make sure, obviously, it's all seeded. We don't want to have some big blank patches. But yeah. There we go. It's starting to trickle with rain. Perfect. It's like it's meant to be. So, just forget about that now, and then let's see what happens. Get that pond finished tomorrow. Get that one made to look pretty tomorrow. Job's a good one. Hope you're enjoying the journey. This is where it really starts to happen now. This is, up until now, it's all been preparation. I suppose it is still preparation, but now we just wait and things happen. Previously, we've just been making them and nothing changes, but now things actually start to change without doing anything, which is the best thing about gardening. Anyway, please comment, like, subscribe if you're enjoying it, and yeah, here we go. Thanks very much.